Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It is Thursday, April 17th. Hey, I want to just jump on here real quick and talk about the mass shooting down at Florida State University today. And I want to send my condolences out to those who lost and my prayers out to the families of all the victims. And hopefully the death toll doesn't rise. We're really this one kind of hit home for us because I don't talk about it too much, but our youngest son is actually a student at Florida State, and his girlfriend actually lives there too with him. They live in separate off-campus apartments, but luckily they weren't on campus at the time this happened. So everything's safe on that end. But I do want to, like I said, send our prayers out to those lost. But I do want to bring this brings up something that we've talked about, and I don't know the situation, but it is something we if you have kids in those situations, off to college and stuff, make sure that we are still pushing the situational awareness, and if you see something off, definitely report it. And this is something I've talked about before, which happens a lot of times. And I'm not saying any of this could have made a difference, but it's always possible. When you're moving about, and especially the kids, because anywhere there's whether they're college age, they're the younger generation, I guess, they're constantly on their phone. They're walking, they got their face in their phone, and they're not really paying attention to what's around them. If you have those students and young people that are in those places, wherever they're at. I mean, it doesn't really have to necessarily be at college. Any kind of sporting events, wherever. Put the phone in your pocket and be aware of what's going on around you. Now, I've done a few videos about this over the years about situational awareness, but this is really something that we need to take. You really need to take it more serious, and it's something I've actually been trying to practice a little bit more. As we go out, we do some like just local hiking and things like that, on our walks and things, and just even when my wife and I are walking, I'm trying to point different things out to just pay attention to the surroundings, and to know what's going on around you, and to, keep your phone in your pocket. But so definitely that's something you want to mention, if you have young people there. I know it's going to be hard to get through to them, but sometimes a tragedy like this can be eye-opening for people, and I hope that's the case in this situation. This is I don't know really what's going on with our society here, but we've just become a society of, it seems like almost a society of death at this point. Everything appears negative. There seems to be the division between American citizens is getting worse and worse, and it seems like we're not placing enough value on human life, and that's we need to get back to those Christian values. I don't preach about that kind of thing on here a lot, but it is something we need to really take seriously. There's something lacking in the society today. There's a lack of accountability, for one thing. There's just it's like almost an entitlement mentality with some of these people, that they just feel like the world revolves around them and they can do whatever they want. And I think a lot of this stems from just society in general. It seems like there's a lack of punishment for some of these crimes, and it's I've been watching this Carmelo Anthony story out of Texas with he's the one that stabbed at the track meet. Stabbed the young boy at the track meet, and I'm just watching how this is kind of transpiring with the family, and people raising hundreds of thousands of dollars for this guy who essentially murdered another kid. And we can get into the self-defense of it, but from what I'm reading, and just from some of the reports I've read, and I wasn't there, but this is It seemed that there was there's going to be this kid's probably going to get off with if possibly completely, but what happened to our society where this is what we embrace? You know, we used to embrace the victims, and we had compassion for people that were, whether they were injured or, God forbid, they were killed. You know, when we're raising money for murderers in our country, we've taken a wrong turn somewhere. We really have. We're sometimes I say it. I think we're sometimes de-evolving as humans. There's just there's something amiss here. You know, parents, you've got to get back to teaching your children values, and that life has value, that, the world doesn't revolve around them. We've got to get back to this, because there's just such a lack of accountability nowadays, that we've literally lost all compassion. And when we do have compassion, it seems like it's directed in the wrong, the wrong place with these. Like I said, we're raising money for murderers now. That's what we've become in this country. We're that divided. It's become that much. There's just such a divide that we're now supporting murderers, and then we wonder why these people go crazy. And if you look at this story, I would almost believe there could be some parallels with this. This young man, could he have possibly been watching all these news reports about this murderer, and his family getting basically rich off of this? And now I just saw a snippet online that this guy that murdered this kid is now selling merchandise based around this. His family just bought a new home and a brand new SUV with the money raised. So we've turned murder into profit now, and this is the message we're sending our young people, that you're going to be held accountable by being rewarded for bad behavior. We got to get back to being human again, and having some values. So I'm not going to preach on anymore about this. Like I said, this one touched the nerve a little bit, because it has hit closer to home, and not that they all don't, because one life lost is too many. So, like I said, I want to send my condolences out to the victims of this shooting down there. If you can, if there's something that can be done for a positive for any of these victims, do it. But do me a favor, don't go on and donate to these murderers. Don't do it. Just become human again. Let's get some morality back in this country. Let's start holding people accountable for the deserved accountability for when they are doing these things. So anyway, if you like this video, like and subscribe. I know this is a little bit different than what I normally post, but I just felt it was necessary. It seems lately I'm just watching us as a society. We're really going backwards. It feels like in 10 years we're going to be back to the Stone Age. So whatever you can do, keep all these people in your prayers tonight, and pull your kids a little closer and give them a hug. Remind them that they are loved, and that to just love their fellow man. I will see you guys on the next one. Take care. Probably see you before, but if not, please have a happy Easter, and be safe. Have a safe weekend, and enjoy it with your families. Take care.